Yeah.
Okay. Right.
Hey, you can't touch me. Lucifer, you can't touch me. Furthermore, take your filthy hands off me family. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. Warfare time when you're under the blood. Them demons will shake and tremble. Satan is a old dirty thief, so we mash up the plans with only one sprinkle. If you're feeling pain, the blood of Jesus break every chain and remove our sin. Declare this again and again. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. When the Vicks and the bush can't fix this, the blood of Jesus remove our sickness, all asthma and all arthritis. In the name of Jesus we bind it. Jesus is the answer. The blood of Jesus beat out the cancer. Break every chain and remove our stain. Declare this again and again. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. When we plead the blood, principalities get trampled. When we plead the blood, generation curse get dismantled. So cover your children and them, your unsafe family members and them. Christ died on the cross for all of them, so start praying for them. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus for your healing. Cover yourself from the floor to the ceiling. The blood of Jesus from your neighbor. Let the world know Christ is the Savior. I know you might find this funny. Plead the blood of Jesus over your money. Even before the payday, complete the blood so the money can't done. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. The blood of Jesus over your family. Plead the blood over your family. This is what to pray and say in the morning. Yes. Hey. Blood of Jesus. Blood of Jesus. Blood of Jesus. Oh God.
Oh na 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 yeah eh 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 eh. Oh na 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 yeah eh 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 eh. Oh na 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 yeah eh 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 eh. Oh na 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 yeah. The blood of Jesus break every chain. 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 Him conquer sin, him conquer death, him conquer hell, him conquer grave. The blood of Jesus is here to save. The blood of Jesus break every chain. Hey, Mr. Man, hear what I say. Hey, Madam Woman, hear what I say. Hey, boy, baby, hear what I say. Hey, little lady, hear what I say. Blood of Jesus, conquer fear demand. Blood of Jesus, conquer depression. Blood of Jesus, conquer poverty. Blood of Jesus, cover you and me. Blood of Jesus, conquer sex demand. Blood of Jesus, conquer disobedience. Blood of Jesus, conquer everything. Blood of Jesus, the blood of Jesus, break every every chain. The blood of Jesus, break every chain. Boy, the blood of Jesus, break every chain.
Get ready, my brothers, as we invite our sister, Dr. Cheryl Holmes, back to the sacred space of the Man Cave. Tune in as real men go against the grain and share secrets in ManCave Conversations Season 3. Join us as Dr. Holmes gains access to the inner workings of the alpha male through real and honest dialogue that will blow your mind. Don't miss it.
Well, this is night number last. This is the last night for ManCave Conversation Season 3. We welcome all of you. Thomas, you have been so faithful. Happy Friday. I'm stealing from Enyatu. Happy Friday to all of you. This is Friday night. We have all or most of the men in the Man Cave. So please pray for me. Tonight is going to be hot. Those of you who are extremely religious and things like sex and stuff like that, and somebody saying vagina or penis, it really kind of makes you uncomfortable. We suggest that you kind of turn to Netflix or Hulu or something like that, because we're having real conversation. It's after 10 p.m. The kids are asleep, I hope. Put on your PJs, get your popcorn, and let's just rock and roll tonight. It's going to be epic. I need you to invite everybody on your friend list, everyone on your friend list. We're going to take a short break, just kind of showing you some of the things that we do here with some of the ministries we're involved in. But as we take that break, take that time, get your popcorn, get what you want to drink. It might be in a little glass. It might be something that Jesus, his first miracle, hint, hint, that might be what you want to get, or you may want to get something else. But let's just have a good time on tonight. See you in a few minutes. Well, I know you guys are excited. I see so many of you on. You've been on for a minute, and that's really, 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 really great. Tonight we are at our last night for this month and for this season. This is episode last. This is the last session for this. I think this year for this year. And we have, I think, about 18 men that's on tonight. So we're going to have some fun. All the people, Anne Marie, I see you. Danielle, I see you guys. Maria, I see you. Guys. Just invite some more people. Some of the things that we want to just kind of let you know are some of the things that we do. We have life coaching certification. And to become a life coach, all you need to do is to let us know in the comments that you're interested in becoming a life coach. Right now, I'm telling everyone this is a time to jump in. There are no board certification that is needed. A lot of people are making a lot of money. I know one coach last week made $120,000 for an hour and a half session. That's a 90-minute session. So you want to get on board, kind of understand your niche. If there's something that you do and you do well, how about come on in so that we can show you how to use that, how to get those clients, turn casual conversations into consultations and be paid for it. If you want to be a counselor, we also do certification. We have several courses that we offer. We have not just the ManCave Conversation, but the Naomi Project. I want to really, I want to say beg, but yeah, so let me beg some of the women, some of you who have been talking, I want you to come on board with me next Friday night. That's October 9th. We're going to have a response. Some of you, Anne-Marie, Danielle, some of you have been here from the beginning, kind of listening to the men, and we want to get on the platform and respond. So if you're interested in being on the panel, please also put that in the comments and we will be sure to contact you. All right. Yes, grown folk talk. Look, Danielle, that's what we're doing tonight. Tonight, there are no limits. I am not restraining people and all of that. Everybody is going to get a chance to talk from their heart. So please be prepared. We love God with all our heart. Sex and relationship is something that's in the Bible. Things like oral sex and all of that is in the Bible. So just, get your PJs and let's rock. So I want to introduce you to some of them. The introduction is not going to be really long because we have a lot of them, but I want to give everybody their time. So you guys remember Spencer. Spencer is the voice on most of my ads. And ladies, when you hear that, in fact, the last time he was on, somebody was trying to hook him up with their daughter. How are you doing tonight, Spencer?
Hey, Dr. Cheryl, how you doing? It's always a pleasure being here and putting you on the spot and making me laugh and blush at the same time. But nonetheless, it's always good to be a part of the Man Cave and always, of course, doing work with you. And as I always said before, anytime you need anything, you let me know. I'll be glad to do it for you. So glad to be here.
Awesome. You hear that voice, ladies? Sounds like Barry White, right? I was going to sing a song. I don't even know if that's Barry White's song. Let me stay in my lane. And Yaku, how you doing? Now you have the glasses on tonight. How you doing?
Yes. I'm marvelous. How you doing, Dr. Cheryl?
I am doing really, really well. I'm hoping that Bishop Hood is on as well. I'm seeing him commenting. And Yatu, my inbox is full of prospects for you. So, I have to send them over. It was even more after last night. I don't know why. I don't know why.
I need your help. I make the right decision.
I'll sift them through and only send the good candidates to you. Good to have you. Good to have you in the cave. Let's see, who else do we have here? Hi, the bearded man. How are you doing, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you doing?
I am well. And well, everybody was talking about your beard. You know,
That's not my fault. That's all my brother Kurt's fault.
that's your brother's Curtis Wolf. Okay,
Yes.
I think we have some. I don't know what's going on there, but that's your brother. Whatever your brother did, tell him to keep on doing it. The ladies love it. Even the men commented on it. So do your thing.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, we'll be right back with you. Let's see. The man himself, one of the troublemakers. You know, Tom and I was talking, and from the very inception, and some people don't understand the relationship that I have with both Charles and Bruce because they were my, I don't know, what do you call them? But the starting pieces.
They're your day ones. Day
my
one
day
foundation.
one, my A's, you know,
Yeah.
day one. And one of the good things about both Charles and Bruce, I can call them. In fact, during this time, if I inbox, they're like, "You good?"
Yeah. Right.
Thank you so much. You know,
Right,
thank
no
you so
problem.
much for hanging out with us. All right, let's see. We have Mr. Suarez, the Spanish man.
¿Qué tal? ¿Cómo están las cosas? ¿Todo bien?
No habla español, poquito. How you doing tonight? But I think Pastor Richard is on, and he speaks fluent Spanish, so he'll speak for me. How you doing, Michael?
Good and getting better.
I like that. I like that. Did you have fun the last time?
Oh, that was great. Yeah.
Good.
The only problem I had was I was so hyped from all that philosophical conversation that honestly I stayed up all night. I went to sleep at like 7 o'clock in the morning.
Oh my gosh. We need to get you
It was fun.
We need to get you a wife. Michael is also
So she can make me go to sleep, right?
Yes, she'll help you go to sleep. Everyone, Michael Suarez is also single. See you later. Another single man all the way from Trinidad and Tobago is the Right Honorable, I wish I could say it like Christine, the Right Honorable, His Majesty, the Supreme, Garvin Garraway. Woo! How are you doing, Bishop? Bishop, you're not hearing me? Bishop? Bishop? Bishop Garraway?
Oh, which
Bishop
which
Garraway.
bishop?
Bishop, I did my full introduction. Everyone, please welcome the Right Honorable, the Supreme, isn't that what Christine says? How are you doing tonight, Bishop?
The Lord is extremely kind to me. I am flabbergasted by His glory.
Y'all switch bishops y'all switch bishops on me. Okay, Bishop Grant. There are too many bishops in the house. How are you doing?
Well, let me just put it this way. Since I'm the oldest bishop, call me bishop, call the rest of them bish.
Okay. Call them B. So, okay, that's Bishop
I'm
Garraway.
carrying that title for 30 years.
30 years.
Later.
I just switched
All right.
back in name.
All right. Who else do we have in the man cave in the Zoom land? Okay. All right. I'm just going to bring everybody on because I don't want to waste the time.
Bruce,
I
good
don't
to
know.
see you again.
Hi, how you doing?
Yeah.
Hi, Bruce.
Hey, doctor.
Okay, I'm trying to do this.
Yeah, doc. Let's get some housekeeping instructions. I need to see my brother.
I know. I'm
looking at still pictures right now.
We gotta talk to IT.
Okay,
All
so
right.
the people who are here, let's put everyone here on there. And this is Charles. And all right, so that's everyone here. Okay, awesome. Who's the person that's blacked out? Okay, so you see them now, Bruce. All right, guys.
All right.
So tonight we want to talk about a little bit of everything, but we want to focus on relationships, sustaining relationships in 2020 and beyond. One of the things I want to just kind of start with is I just want to piggyback on a conversation that I had with someone. If the relationship has to end, how should it end? What's an amicable way for us to end a relationship? Anybody?
Give me
Requires
the,
a
give me
conversation.
the last.
All
Give me the
right.
last part again. I didn't hear the last part again.
An amicable way to end a relationship. So sometimes there are some females who do not understand the relationship is over and they need to move on. They can still kind of stay around and taunt and stuff like that. So we're looking at an amicable way to end relationships.
I
Up
think
through a
just
conversation. I mean, if the relationship has come to an end, me and that woman sit out and have a conversation about the ending. Give closure to each other and make sure it's understood that there will not be a rekindling. There will not be no going forward, and make that completely understood. Just like adults, give a person the closure. Now, in some relationships, you don't have closure. It's obvious. It's over with. We don't need to talk about it. But an amicable way, two adults sit down, have a conversation. If you want to talk about why the relationship ended, that's all right. But it's also need to be understood on either part of whoever's doing the breaking up. You need to understand that the relationship is over. There will be no going forward. We don't need to talk about being friends because usually when a relationship breaks up, no one is really, we're not always friends going forward. But just have a conversation. That's the easiest way to end a relationship. There's no other way to do it. But just have a conversation, give each other closure, and move on.
Okay, so we want to make sure everybody is involved, and I want you guys to talk like if I'm not here in the man cave, right? I want you guys to talk.
So, Dr. Cheryl,
Huh?
This is Charles. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me?
Yes.
Yeah, Charles.
I think if we're honest, of course, there's the ideal way to say, let's both sit down at the table and hash this out peacefully and go our separate ways. But a lot of times, it really depends on how the relationship ended. Because sometimes, if we're honest, sometimes people may not want to be amicable because they're not in that place emotionally. And sometimes, depending on the temperature of the emotions, you have to shift your approach towards closure. And sometimes that may mean in the heat of the moment, maybe there's silence, but maybe in a couple of weeks, a month, you have a conversation and you sit down and hopefully things may be a little quieter. But sometimes, depending on the heat in the kitchen, it's hard to get closure in that moment. It just depends.
Okay.
I love to piggyback on that. Charles made a great point. First, it takes two people who wanted to end amicably, right? Or want to be amicable, right?
You're right.
So, no matter what you do, if the other person doesn't want it to end amicably, then that's not what they're going to participate in. But I think what's important is that everyone understand that if you're not for a person, then that person isn't for you, right? And the person that is for you is going to be the very best match for you. So in that regard, the person you're supposed to be with is going to be an upgrade from this relationship that's coming to an end. And when you embrace that fact and that reality, then you can end things amicably. I believe in exit interviews after some time has gone past. I really try to, some people say they're tired of learning lessons from their relationships, where I'm trying to make sure I grab all the lessons from my relationships that don't work. So if a woman would allow me to, a month or two later, 6 months later, sometimes even a year, we'll have a conversation. And it's not for me to tell them anything about them unless they want me to. But I want to know, what was it like to be in a relationship with me? How did I handle your emotions? How did I handle your heart? Did I handle with care? things of that nature, so I can learn about myself. Because it's one thing to look in the mirror or look from your own perspective, but none of us really know what it's like to be in a relationship with ourselves unless we talk to the people we've been in relationships with. So I think Charles made some really great points, and I just wanted to add on to them.
Okay, so Bishop Vaden, what do you think about the exit interview? I think that's novel. That's pretty cool. What do you think about the exit interview, Bishop Grant?
Well, the truth is, if a relationship is coming to an end, all of that nice stuff that these gentlemen are talking about may not be the atmosphere in which the relationship is ending. Nobody's ending a relationship because they like each other so much that they want to sit down and have an amicable conversation. Most of the time, you're either ending it because you don't have a choice. Somebody has intervened, or you have disliked this person, or this person has disliked you to the point where they no longer can tolerate you. So, if it is a girlfriend on the side, am I allowed to say that?
Yeah, whatever.
If it's a girlfriend on the side,
You're not allowed to have
you may
one.
want to check back. You may think that sit and have a conversation with. But if it was a serious relationship that has gone sour and all of that, I think the exit interview is not always that's probably a 20% if you have intelligent and intellectual people like Dr. I.K. Williams and so on dealing with the relationship. But regular men like myself, I really don't want to see you again. God bless you, goodbye. We talk at some point in time when our hearts are mended. But that nice exit interview, as if you're leaving a job, even when you're leaving a job, it's horrifying. I don't know if I want to participate in that. And friends, if we can't tolerate each other in a relationship, why do we need to be friends? Why do I need to look at you, especially if I really love you? Do I want to see you with the next man and say, "Oh, it's good for you"?
No.
No.
There's going to be no amicable breakups with Bishop Grant.
Right?
Bishop Grant say he the one who ain't going to be amicable.
Bishop, because we all go to heaven, whether or not you broke up the relationship. Right? Or you're going to stay down and she's going to go up.
Well, please understand, we
may all be going to heaven, but that's why heaven is so big that I don't even have to see you there.
We'll take over there.
The truth is, we could spiritualize all these things, but the reality is, when it comes to relationship, there is a heart issue, there's an emotional issue going on there. There's a why, there's a mental issue, and it's painful. Breaking up is painful. If you were serious about the person. So just sit down and have this nice exit interview. I don't know how that works. Please forgive me. You may want to refer to the more intellectually aggrandized gentlemen.
Well, I mean, like I said, well, if you don't like the person, if the relationship is over, of course, you just exit, you just leave, and that's what you do. But there is, some of us can have a conversation with our ex, and we can just have a conversation, and it's over with. Sometimes, like I said, in some relationships, you don't have closure. You just walk away. We don't like each other. We don't work out. That's what I said. But, like I said, we, some of us can have a decent ending to a relationship. It doesn't have to always be anger or somebody, I'm so pissed off, I can't stand you, I want to do something to you. We can just end the relationship and say, hey, look, it didn't work out. You know what I'm saying? It is what it is. And if the person asks me why it didn't work out, that's what the conversation is about. And I just explained it to you. And that's your closure. In some relationships, you get closure, some you don't.
Hey, Dr. Cheryl.
I like to ask a question in here because can I clarify? I need to get some clarity. Are we talking about a marriage relationship or are we talking about dating relationships? Because they're on two different levels. They're two different perspectives completely. So to have the exit interview on a marriage and to have the exit interview on a date, it's two different interviews, if you want to call it that. There's just specifically seeing marital situations, and then can we, while we're not, I believe, Bishop Grant, while we're not over spiritualizing it either, but where does the spirit play a part in, as Christian men and in Christian relationships? How does that balance? Because we cannot talk, have a conversation on the level like we're in the world and we're of the world. So our whole premise has to come from a different perspective, a different mindset with some different guidelines, some different thoughts. Heaven is that big, and Bish, as you said, that we don't have to see each other, but at the same point in time, we're going to have to cross each other at somewhere. And a lot of the ministry of reconciliation, if that's what it's supposed to be about. So I just wanted to throw that in there as well. So are we addressing just, because if it's just a relationship where we've been dating and that's it, then that's one thing. But if it's a relationship where you've been vested, you've walked down the aisle, you've done all of that before God and these witnesses, then that's a whole another conversation. So I'm just throwing that out.
But on that note, Dr. Cheryl, in some scenarios, hey, some people have invested even outside of marriage. Unfortunately, they've invested very much marriage-like. And so I think at the end of the day, even when it comes to someone being mature, sometimes you may say, well, me and this person is very mature, so we were able to come to a terms. Guess what? Those terms can usually only be reached if those people can manage their emotions at the time of the offense. If not, you're going to get the same effect. Now, here's a real quick thing. In most cases, I've noticed people can be amicable and can have a mutual conversation if they both have already pre-planned exit designations. When you ever see two people that has broken up because the relationship comes to an end, but they already have other places to go, you can sit down at the table and have lunch and everything at that point, because both people are saying, I'm going to be okay, you're going to be okay. But as long as one person feels the loss, you're going to have that animosity, and it's going to be difficult to have that kind of closure.
I like to add on to that. If you build a friendship as the foundation of your relationship, I've been an asset to you. You've been an asset to me. We just can't sustain in the long term. Like, why does it have to be so? Even if I'm like really, really love this woman, if what love means would allow me to wish happiness for her even without me. Why I got to be all upset and pissed off? And then that other part about what you said is, I always got somewhere else to go. So I believe everybody does.
Lord Jesus.
So therefore, there's no reason why, from my perspective, that we can't have that conversation. My question to the other gentleman is, how do you know what it's like to be in a relationship with you? For one, if you don't ask her, if you don't never ask none of them, you might be going out here repeating the same mistakes over and over and over again when you could have been mature enough to have a conversation.
But in y'all too, really quick, to add to what you're saying, here's what most women will say. I've been telling you throughout the relationship, your exit interview. You were listening. Women tell us all the time what's wrong, what they don't like, what you did wrong. We just always are like, oh yeah, okay, now girl, you all right. And then at the end, we as men, that's when our ears perk up that we want to hear. You know what I'm saying?
Usually my exit interviews are a little different from what was said in the relationship, just because they've had some time to reflect. Like when you in the midst of it, you don't see it as clearly as from up on the balcony when you can look down on it and have some time to reflect and maybe even heal.
All right.
Can I talk about that exit interview?
Can I say something?
I'm going to try to get everybody involved, but here's my question I want from every single man here. What is it in a relationship? in a relationship that a woman seems to not understand, and if she can get that, then it would make the relationship, the life of the relationship, even longer, and maybe even for go towards forever. But you can't repeat what someone else says. So I'm
Okay.
going to call you, and then you, let's see if I have everybody. So again, I want you to think, what should a woman know about, so you can take it from a dating perspective, from marriage, anything. But what would be one thing that if we as women, we get, it will make relationship even better. All right. So Pastor Andrews, are you on? Let's get Pastor Andrews.
You don't get an
Yeah. That's why I was saying that, sometimes you don't get closure. Sometimes the relationship is just over. But just like JSV asked, he was asked about the marriage.
Yeah.
One of the things that you have to look at if you're talking about a married couple, the first thing that I would tell any married couple, as far as men, we in the men case, men, what we have to realize, admit you know why your marriage is ending. Don't play games. Don't try. You know if it was cheating, if you know it wasn't quality time, whatever it is, you know why your relationship is ending. Now, if you want to discuss it, if you want to try to mend your marriage before it ends, that's where counseling and all that comes in. But one of the things we both need to stop playing with, we know the real reason why our relationship, it ended because of that side chick. It ended because you were not taking care of home. It ended because the woman didn't want the marriage anymore. Sometimes women don't want the marriage. So again, in that situation, we can boo-hoo and cry all we want to. If the woman doesn't want the marriage over, you got to learn how to admit that to yourself. And if you can't handle that, you need to go find some counseling, because that leads to other things that, well, I don't want to close. I'm mad. I'm pissed off. I want to talk. No, the woman don't want to talk. You got your closure.
Right. So those of you on Zoom, what I want you to respond to or think about is, what would be one thing that a woman, whether a woman dating, a woman who wants to date, a woman who is in a relationship, wants to get into a relationship, wants to get out of a relationship, what is one tip that you will give a woman that will make either relationship or life with a man even better? And you cannot repeat what someone else says. And so that I can have all the men, I want to be able to call you. Once I call you, is the Zoom working?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Once I call you guys, then you would respond. Well, it looks like we only have the people in here. So, Michael, what's your tip to the woman?
Understand biological psychology, right? Often, one of the things that you'll see when men and women are fighting is that they start speaking past each other, and they seem like they get to this point where they they can't understand or they can't reconcile. Most of the time, that's because one person, usually the man, is being intellectual and the woman is speaking emotionally, right? And that's because there are subtle differences in each of our type of being. We are made a little bit differently. If you understand those subtleties, then you're actually beginning to walk in a type of maturity, right? It sort of comes automatically. The more you understand, hey, for example, at certain times of the day, at certain times of the month, and so on, I'm going to be a certain way, right? Because of my husband's age, he's going to think, behave, want to maybe, for example, go outside, go to the gym, etc. All those things are affected by this. All those things that are psychological influence the biological in this way that is very intense. And people generally, as I observe, are clueless about it. You know.
So, and you call it biological psychology.
I don't call it that. That's what it's called as a discipline in university. But it's basically, I used to call it psychobiology when I used to just talk about it and I didn't know it existed. I used to be psychobiology, right? So I always say, like, joking around that, like, the girl walks by, right, and like the dudes be like, "Yo, check her out," right? And my argument is they don't know why they're doing that. Like, if you ask them, they'll be like, "Oh, she looked good." It has nothing to do with the fact that nature has put an impulse in you to reproduce more of yourself, as we said last time. That's much, much deeper. So again, they're very sort of, we as a culture are very disconnected from our appetites, namely sexuality and food. We're like, we have a very strange alienated relationship with it.
All right. So ladies, if you have questions about that, let us know. So I don't know if our brothers on Zoom heard the question that I want you to answer. If you guys are hearing me, wave or say, are you hearing? They look like they're having their own thing going on there. Are you guys hearing me on the Zoom? No, they're having their own. So we're going to have our own conversation and leave them up. Okay, admin team, the Zoom people can't hear us. So they're having their own conversation. All right. So CJ, tip for the woman.
Tip for the women. All right. This may shock some people, ladies. Know your worth, and your worth is not between your legs.
Okay. All right.
Your worth is right here and right here. So if you are looking for a specific man, and of course, if we're talking about a man of God, obviously, I would hope that you're a lady of God too. Know that one, Music Soul Child has a song called Previous Cats, as in, do not limit your expectations. We're all different. And yes, your experience has produced a specific type of result, but don't pin that on the next person, right? Whenever I encounter anybody with male, female, I don't have any expectations of them. And as the relationship is being built, they build those expectations of my observations, right? And so one thing that I have realized is that when I'm talking to ladies and they realize that I am not pursuing them in a sexual manner, they really don't know what to do after that.
Yep.
And so a lot of times they put their value or their attractiveness into their body. And when I say, I don't want to make love to your body, I want to make love to your mind, they don't really know what to do. And I have personally been told this twice when I had the exit interview, right, gentlemen? I was like, can you just be honest with me? Like, why don't you hit me up anymore? Is it something that I said? I'm just trying to learn this. I'm recently divorced and I haven't dated. I was married for 11 years. And so the bold ones were really honest with me. They said they're intimidated by my boundaries and they just really don't know what to do after that because it's unexpected. And so, ladies, but that's fine. If you have a standard, hold to that standard, because there is a guy out there that has that same standard, and that's what you want to wait for. But don't put the burdens of the past on someone of the future.
Charles some time ago talked about the clearance rack. I don't know if that's what he's going to talk about now, but that really kind of stayed with me, and I used it in counseling as well, because there are times when, especially like if you go for jewelry, the things that's on the counter are usually the things that the store owner doesn't mind it being stolen. Not that they want it to be stolen, but if it gets stolen, they know the value is not that much, or probably, and sometimes you go even on into the 99-cent store and you see something on the counter that is discounted from 99 cents to 5 cents, 25 cents, 75 cents. So sometimes I think that's what we're hearing. Sometimes we don't know our worth, and instead of waiting for the man to get into the vault and take us out, we're just like, I'm here on the clearance rack. Choose me. And
That's biological psychology, by the way. That's what that is right
the
there.
only thing that we can learn is like sex. You want sex, so we show the boobs a little bit more, the clothes a little tighter, because the only way to get a man is through those means. So, all right.
If you act like you're not interested, that actually attracts way better than hardcore pursuing. I mean, that's the thing I learned. I was like, wow, like the moment I stopped being interested, then I wasn't like, it just was really easy, as it were, or it comes to you.
Okay, let's see if you guys can hear us before we go.
Yeah.
Pastor Abner, can you hear me? No? Yeah, he's playing the guitar.
He play the guitar over there. I'm joking.
Okay, I don't know. All right, so no. Charles, did I do Charles? What's your?
Yes. Yeah. Let's see. Charles? I would say.
Yeah.
Yeah. Can you hear me? Can you guys hear me? Okay. I would say to simply find and respect his rhythm and simply flow with it. All men would like to have a woman that gets his flow, can get into the dichotomy of who he is as a man and understand him and just simply flow. That's when they talk about walking together. Mm-hmm. The good thing about walking together is we're understanding each other as we walk together. So you only get that by really learning and understanding and hearing your person and understanding the things that make them tick and the things that turn them off, and understand them. That's how you can, make life a lot easier from a male perspective,
Okay. All right. Who did I not get? Enyatu.
I'm worried because I didn't get to hear what Charles said, but
you couldn't hear me.
Ultimately, don't confuse strength with being hard. Right? There's actually a lot of strength in your softness. Stay soft. Your feminine energy is one of your superpowers, and the more you project that and submerge yourself in your feminine energy, the more masculine energy you will bring out of your man. When you try to match your man's masculinity by being hard, you create a terrible dynamic. And so, stay soft, argue hard, but use soft words, and you'll have a lot more success with. I saw one of the ladies said that men are hard of hearing. But if you deliver it right,
don't curse.
It's likely for us to hear you. So men can't survive on bread alone. Sometimes it's buttering up.
Okay, so we're getting Spencer. We didn't have you.
No, but I got two of them I want to share with the ladies.
Okay,
come on, Spencer.
All right, so thank y'all. Number one, I think I want to jump on or kind of add on to what Brother Enyatu said about knowing how to speak and being effective. And what I mean by that is ladies, praise is more effective than criticism. And the reason why is because we were designed in the image of God. Yeah. And so it simply means is how you get God to respond is how you get us to respond. God is God, and his word says very clearly he inhabits the praises of his people. And so, as we already know here on earth, when praises go up, blessings come down. It's not that God doesn't move to your complaints or prayers. He just responds better to your praises because he doesn't want you to forget who he is, even in the midst of your problems, even in the midst of your conflict. We don't want you to forget who we are, even in the midst of your frustration with us. So if you have a frustration or issue with us, that's cool, that's normal, that's fine. But I bet you will get more flies with honey than you do with, you know what I mean? So in other words, if you want a better response from me to move in a direction that you may want me to move, let me know what I'm doing already good before you maybe twist my crown away, you know what I mean, or kind of shut me down. That's what I've learned in my experience. The second tip I would say is to all my ladies, and especially because I'm very serious about this and because I have a daughter, is focus on how to keep him, not to catch him. There's a problem. There's a twisted dynamic and a distorted focus on how to catch him. You referenced it earlier, Dr. Cheryl, about how ladies may want sex, so they may wear more revealing clothes and more risque outfits. That's going to catch me, but that's not going to keep me. I'm going to see your booty. I'm going to see your body, but that's going to catch me. But in order to keep me, I need to see your brain. I need to know how you think. I need to know how you speak. I need to know how you respond in adversities. I need to know how you flow with my rhythm. Like Brother Dixon said, I need to know if you can match my vibe, if you can hold me down in my vulnerabilities, if you can be a strength in a time where I'm weak. Can you be my peace when my storm around me is going chaotic? If you can do that for me, you'll keep me. That's all I got.
That's some good stuff. That's some really good stuff.
Yeah.
I'm looking at the responses of the lady. All right, Charles, say it again. What did you say?
No, I said, hey, Spencer, you got a career in radio, man. Great voice, bro.
Oh, bless you, sir. Bless you, brother. Thank you, bro.
And very wise, very clear. Yeah, very effective.
Tonation matters when you're delivering solid facts.
Yeah, but Spencer, let me kind of put you on the spot.
Okay.
Do women just kind of gravitate to your voice and not see the rest of you, or just like talk to me, baby, talk to me?
No, you know what? Honestly, I think it's a smile.
No, it's the voice. It's the smile until you talk, and then you start talking. Everybody's just like, ooh.
But you know what, Dr. Cheryl? At least his voice matches his swagger. That's all that matters. His voice matches his swag. That's it. You know.
I was raised well. I'm a boy from the South. I'm from North Carolina. Right. I'm a Southern gentleman, so I was raised right.
Good stuff. What's up?
Okay. All right. So let's see if we get these men in. Bishop Garraway, can you hear me?
He's muted, I think.
Yeah, he's muted. Okay, guys, unmute my guest. Okay, we'll go back to them. I don't want them to feel like we.
Robert Lee looks disconnected.
Where is Robert?
Julian is disconnected. Teron, Abner.
Oh, because I just said unmute. So,
yeah.
Bishop, can you hear me? He's still muted, but he's the only person that is there. Anyone from the Zoom team can hear me?
He's muted. Yeah.
Yeah, he's muted. Well, we're gonna just have this by ourselves because
yes, we just have to hold it down.
We're gonna represent for you, brothers.
Yeah.
Let's represent. What else in the man cave? What else can we learn in the man cave that, because this is my last night here. We may have to do something else to get those brothers in. But
can we talk the exit interview? Can I address that exit interview really quickly?
All right.
And I like it, but I almost, as soon as you asked that question, my mind went to a different answer, which was, what do I learn about myself in reacting to a breakup? Because I think this will be fairly honest. I was dating someone in the church. This is when we used to work together. And while I was working with her, I was like, yo, I love her. I love her so much. We had a very pure relationship. There's a lot of ministry that we did together. As soon as we broke up, my emotions were like, yo, I hate that dude, right? but here's the thing. I'm so philosophical that I actually, even in my anger, I had to stop myself and go, well, what is your love then? What is the power of it? What does it mean then if it's so easily changed just by the status of the relationship changing? Wow. And I think that's a really like something we really have to think about and address. And I think that's, for me, the part where someone said before about the spiritual component that's involved in a breakup. I think the most spiritual component is what's going on within you. What kind of feelings, what kind of emotions are coming up, and how are you dealing with them?
Oh, okay, that's good. What else can we learn?
We can't hear you, Dr. Cheryl.
I can hear. We can hear.
She sound. Oh,
What else can we learn in the man cave?
you guys gonna have to interpret for us, and y'all can hear.
Being great and being good enough doesn't always make you a match for that particular person. So love is super duper important, but to sustain a relationship long term, it requires compatibility. Without compatibility, I mean, probably the worst thing that can happen to any man or woman is to fall madly in love with somebody that they ain't compatible with.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yep.
This is about to be torture. It's about to be an emotional roller coaster. Can really pull a person apart. And so you really have to, look for those signs. The person that's for you will tend to bring the best out of you, and a person who's unhealthy for you will tend to bring out the worst out of you. And so I'm sure if any of us are old enough and have enough experience, we've seen that, where we thought we healed something and improved in the area, and then we bump into somebody and they bring it back out of us. And
God, yeah.
What is going on? Or you meet a woman or a man who brings something out of you that you've never seen before in your whole lifetime.
Yeah.
And so these are the things that you really have to pay attention to be able to discern whether or not you're compatible with somebody and a good match with someone. It's not just about the love and the butterflies, as we would like to think, and it's like the songs and the movies portray.
I'd like to say something.
Go ahead, Spencer.
Another thing I like to bring out to the man cave this evening is that pain is a very dangerous place to make decisions from.
Right.
And I think often for men and women, it's also a reflection of your maturity at that time too, especially when presented with adversities or in the possibility of a breakup. Are you making that decision because you're hurt, or are you truly incompatible? Which is what I like what Brother Miyatu was talking about. I believe that when you make a decision from pain, oftentimes it's a knee-jerk reaction, and you just want the pain to stop. It's an ouch, crying out. You just want something to fix it. It's like an itch and needs to be scratched.
Right.
But
has there ever been times where and I need y'all to be honest, where your mouth is saying something and your heart
you can hear?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Because we have ego, right? So men have ego. Oftentimes we'll say something in the moment just to protect our ego, but it's not accurate with how we truly feel. And you'll see that because probably about later on that evening, we'll come to you and be like, "Babe, what you want to eat tonight?"
Yeah.
Right.
We'll come to you, right, and be like, "Babe, you like you tensing your shoulders. Let me go and rub your shoulder a little bit." Or watch something on Lifetime with you that night. We probably would never watch. We would sit there and sit on the couch that night because that's our way of saying, you know what, that wasn't even honest. That wasn't even accurate. But that's also a reflection of our immaturity at the time. And I want my sisters to recognize that too.
Right.
Chances are you will meet a man that is not quite as mature as you.
Wow.
You will meet a man that might be on a different maturity level than you are. And so,
how do you recognize him?
How do you recognize him? Exactly. Just how he responds in adversities and situations. That's what brings out the characters, not how we look when the sun is shining. It's how we respond in the shadows. The problem is that, like my brother was talking about earlier, the biological psychology of women responding from emotions versus logic is that when you see that ugly side of that man that comes out when that immaturity is revealed, they respond emotionally.
Right.
And when they respond emotionally, they want the pain to stop. They want something to feel better. So what they might do is they might call a breakup in the midst of the argument. They might say the most awful thing to me at the time in the midst of the argument, just to get one up on me, just to get back at me, make their pain stop. But the issue is that at that point, where do you go from there? Because we both have bullet holes at this point now.
Wow.
And there's no way of healing. We both have bullet holes. Now I feel less than a man in your eyes because you forgot who I was. There was no break whatsoever at all. You don't feel your emotions don't feel validated from me at all because I dismissed you as you feel, and I made you feel small, so you reacted out of emotion. And now we're sitting there with a fragile and fractured relationship. When if we had a little more maturity and intelligence, we could have probably responded a little bit better.
Right.
Good stuff.
Man, that's powerful right there.
Yeah, that's good stuff.
Although I would say to help the relationship, maybe the guns get put away. All that shooting each other stuff, it's gonna be hard to sustain. I don't think men, I've never been a woman, so I can't speak for women. But men, you say something really disrespectful.
Yeah. Yes.
You can't let
Hear
them
this.
say that.
Yes. Yeah. That
put
learn
the
to.
guns away.
There was a book that we had in our. Sorry.
No worries. I'm just saying. I'm not gonna attack my woman's appearance. I don't want to attack her.
Amen.
Character,
Amen.
There's
certain lines you cross that it's a problem. There was a book that we used to have in the Christian bookstore that we worked in, and every time I was in that section, it was the family section, I would always stop and look at it. I found it really interesting. It was called Learning to Fight Fair, and it basically counseled you, do not, and I adapted this immediately after that, do not cross certain lines. Like my line is, me and you, we never curse at each other. We never curse at each other. We'll never pass that line. If it ever comes to that, we're going to stop right there. And I think, I agree with these guys. That's super important because whatever it is in our biological psychology, that thing will get burnt in there and replayed, when at different times when we feel bad. Really good stuff, guys.
Absolutely.
Where we at?
You're
I can't
off,
hear
Daryl.
We can't hear Dr. Cheryl.
I'm like you, Charles. We can't hear you now.
You can't hear me?
No, I can't.
No, we can hear you, but
I can't hear Charles or Dr. Cheryl. But
I think she's muted.
Yeah,
I can hear Charles.
I think I'm.
Oh, there you go.
I wanted to call them to see what's going on. So my bad. Yeah, some of the things, because a lot of times when I sit in my practice, I hear people and I tell them the one thing that's keeping you apart from each other is pride. Pride up, that desire to win, that desire to, because inside it's saying calm down, hold her, love her, whatever. And you say, I'm packing my bag, and you're just like, you want to get my bag for you? And inside of her saying, stop. She's out in the car and it's just like, don't come back. And in your heart, how do we, from the male perspective, and this is not in your privacy of being with yourself, how can we get you, or how can you get yourself to ignore or to minimize the power of pride in those kinds of situations?
You got to crucify it
as well, right? But tonight we're in the man cave.
Yeah, you got to crucify it.
Doc, ask that question again, Doctor. I didn't quite hear that.
Okay, so there's times.
Shout out to my brothers. Shout out to you all.
Welcome.
There's times when, in the middle of the argument, you know that your heart is saying something that your mouth does not. That your mouth is saying something that your heart does not support. So you get into a big argument, and she's like, "I'm leaving," and you're just like, "Yeah, go." The heart is saying, "Yo, you better stop her. That's the best thing you ever had." And then you're like, "You want me to help you take your bags outside?" And your heart is saying, "Hold this woman, hug her, tell her you love her." But the thing that's stopping you from doing that is pride. Because pride causes a lot of relationships to end. People sustain that end, again, that estrangement or whatever, because of pride. A lot of people get divorced when they see irreconcilable differences. A lot of times, that's pride. How do we minimize that?
Well, Dr. Cheryl,
it takes self-awareness.
Oh, what?
And just the understanding that pride is connected to your ego, and that's going to lend you to destruction. So I have what is the goal? That's what I ask a person. What is the desired result? Because a lot of times the desired result is this way, and we're speeding on the one-way street, going the wrong way down the street, going the opposite way of where the results we want are. And so you really have to be aware of yourself and aware of the result you're looking for with your partner. And if you don't want it to fall apart, you don't want it to be unhealthy, then you won't interject all these unhealthy things into the relationship that you can't take back.
It seems like. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Saul. Go ahead, Saul.
I was going to say, sometimes, Dr. Cheryl, we're just going to be flat out transparent. sometimes when it comes to pride, sometimes in some men's lives, at the time of that whole breakdown, their pride is all they have. They're emotionally depleted. They just, the woman is leaving, and they've invested a lot in her and all kinds of things, and so now she's just like, well, it is over, Bruce. And so the first thing that kicks in, you know what? I'll hold the door for you, even though inside he's bleeding. But he has to try to hold on to whatever fat fiber of his pride that he has, and so he tries.
But self-respect and pride are different.
Yeah. But sometimes that's why I say it depends on where that man is at the time emotionally. Because sometimes if he's clamoring,
But
it seems like for me, if I choose the woman, if I chose her,
right?
If I chose her, then I have no problem showing vulnerability to her. If I chose you, I'm going to be vulnerable to you.
Yeah. Right.
I'm going to tell you how I really feel.
Right.
Even if I have to say, please don't be upset with me.
Right. Yeah.
However, there's a flip side to that. And that stops if you dishonor me. If you dishonor me, if you are so independent that you are operating outside of order and you dishonor me, then there would be no need for pride. It would be a final cutting decision. And I will stand on that. Pride would never enter into it. So men who have that pride with their woman, you have to ask yourself, did I choose the type of woman that I can be openly emotional with?
Right.
If we choose to be in our emotions.
Correct. Yeah.
So pride for a man, really shouldn't enter in.
Right. Right.
Unless it's a type of pride, unless and until, I'll say this quickly, unless and until it's the type of pride that demands honor.
Yeah.
I am that prideful in my manhood that you're not going to conduct yourself any kind of way with me. I take pride in that.
Right.
But I'm not going to take pride in holding back my emotions.
But the kind of pride I'm talking about is
foolish pride.
Yes, basically. Yeah, basically.
The foolish pride, right?
The foolish pride, because it even causes you to, like somebody would say, you know what, because I left, I have to continue to be out here because it's not weighing the logical information. It's not allowing even the Holy Spirit to be able to change your heart and change your mind. It's that pride that says, if this ended, it has to continue in that vein. If I let you leave, it has to continue in that vein. But there has to be the Christ-likeness in there that would say, you know what, I messed up.
Right. If you understand that you're on the same team, right, then you don't think you can get a victory over your woman or over your man. It's not a win unless it's a win for both of us.
But isn't it fear sometimes that generates the pride? Like you fear losing things, so then you act like you get all. I don't know. For me, it gets fear, and then it gets angry, and then I come out prideful. I don't come out prideful unless I'm mad.
All of that stuff is there on the inside, but I think a big part of embracing your manhood and your divine masculinity is
alpha. Come on,
is to be brave, brother. You got to be brave. You got to know
ain't no fear.
You got to know this. What's for you is for you, and so therefore, there's no weakness in humility. There's no weakness in being a good partner. There's no weakness in being a good team player. You know, I'm from Chicago. The Chicago Bulls won 6 championships. And we talk about Michael Jordan all day, but if Steve Kerr didn't hit that key shot, if Paxson didn't hit that key shot, if Jordan's ego and pride made it where he couldn't allow himself to be a part of the team, and he talked about that in the Last Dance, that they didn't win championships until he embraced the team concept and that he couldn't carry the whole thing on his back. And so in a relationship, It's the
Yes.
exact same way. You can't
Good
carry
point.
the whole thing on your back, and you're gonna have to be really brave about what your destiny and what's yours and what can't be taken from you.
Right.
Can I say
So
something?
can I piggyback off of that? Because that's so it's perfect that you said team, because you said how can we help limit that? And since we're in the man cave, I'm gonna talk about brotherhood and being part of that team and having someone that can hold you accountable but allow you to be foolish and get it out.
Yeah.
Because a lot of times our problem is we have to harbor that inside, and those of us that don't want to do that don't want to hurt them, but we really want to say it because that's our emotional side.
Right.
It can lead to bitterness. All right. So I have a friend of mine. He will call me, and I'll let him go. I'll let him say what he needs to say, and afterwards I'll be like, "So do you want me to correct you, or do you just want to vent?" And sometimes you'll say, "I don't see where I was wrong." Boom. Insert wisdom, right? And then at the end of it, he's like, "Dang, I need to apologize." I'm like, "I'll talk to you later." Right? And other times he's like, "Nah, man, I just need to get it off. I know what I need to do. I just needed to tell somebody." Go on about his day. You know, some people need that, right? They need to be, because let's be honest, like
We
you
all
said,
need that.
yes, and let's be honest, like you said, if we can't trust our significant other to really see what we're saying, even though we may be saying some foolish stuff, or two, we're not mature enough to learn to articulate our emotions in a healthy way.
A lot of men struggle with that.
Exactly.
That's
So that's where the brotherhood team comes in. Oh, don't worry, homeboy. All right, go ahead, pass me the ball. I got this one. I'll sink this one for you, so you can go home and be at peace with your wife.
Yeah.
Right.
Let
So
me
I
say
think
something
that's a
real quick.
very, very.
I'm missing something. Oftentimes, right, we don't have the tools or permission to be human. No one really taught us how to be human and have a human experience. We were already kind of jacked up and wired wrong from uncles and maybe father figures of our past that already put in our mind before we were even entertaining women that we got to be something other than human.
Right.
We have to be a superhero, hard rock, emotionalist, unimpacted being in this world, in this fleshly being. It's impossible to do. And so when you meet a woman and you have these dynamics in a relationship, when you're handling different types of elements in your life that you never came in contact before, you don't have the elements or tools to respond or to give yourself a permission to be human. To say, hey, listen, I need to be vulnerable right now, but I'm not because I don't know how to be vulnerable.
Right.
I need to trust you right now and tell you how I really feel, but I don't know how to trust. But I know what pride is because my father told me that and my uncle told me that. Right. So I know a lot about pride. So I'm responding from this prideful place, the foolish pride place, right? And not the solution place. Where if you had a human experience, you probably can have a better solution at the end of that, but you won't even know how to do it. So what Charles is talking about when you said pride is all that some men have, it's the truth, because it's some things that all men have been taught. It's and that's the sadness of it.
So I'm going to put you guys on the spot now, and I want you to take your honest fill. I want you guys to tell me about a time in your life that you let a good woman go and what you would do different now. You know, I'm not asking to call names, right? I'm not saying call the person's name, but I want you to look, because this is a growth area. Let me be the
You're trying to get us in trouble.
Right. There's no good way out of this conversation.
It's a trap, brother. It's a trap. Let me respond to that.
Go ahead, Bruce.
Get on while you still can.
Because
listen,
one of the things I know is out of our experiences.
I ain't scared.
Okay, out of our experiences, that we have a whole lot of people doing these shows and they don't want to get naked. Tell me about a time or a good woman that you let go, and just kind of why you let go. Again, don't say names. It could be when you were 10. but now in your maturity, you think you should do blah 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 differently. Now,
In my maturity, forgive me, Doc, I may be feeling a little rebellious tonight, but in my maturity, I'm gonna say like the rich young ruler said when he said to Jesus, "Good master," and Jesus said, "Why are you calling me good? There is none good but the Father." So I, at 51, am still on the path to discovering what a good woman is, because we still have to deal with her nature. I've been saying it to you all month, Doc.
no, but here's the thing. I'm going to push back. I'm going to push back because you may not get perfect. I'm not talking about a perfect woman, but there's times, and Bruce may be the exception, but there are times in our life we know that if we had been a little bit more mature, if we had not allowed pride, those kinds of things, this particular relationship had some value and it could have been the forever after. That's what I'm talking about.
Dr. Cheryl, I don't know. I'm not in the same place as Bruce is, but from my perspective, they were all good women, and I let them all go because they weren't for me. And that's
Come on, that's it.
I wouldn't
that's
do,
it.
But here's my question. My question
to try
is,
to keep the relationship.
no. So my question, I want you guys to hear my question. Hello, Ryan. I want you to hear my question and answer my question. My question is, was there a time, I'm going to rephrase, in your life, whether you're 30, 40, 50, or 60, that you have caused a relationship to end that prematurely because of your immaturity or some other thing that you can say, if I had done better? So let's focus on the woman. You realize in your growth. So I want you to share your growth experience now at whatever age. What did you do foolishly as a boy that as a man right now you can say, I won't do that again?
I can answer that.
Thank you, sir.
Come on, Spencer.
I can answer that. So there was a time where my focus in a relationship was being the man that I thought I should be versus the man that I should have been for her. And so the problem is that I had an image. I had an ego, right? That said that I should be a certain way. And when a woman sees me, I should be it. I should be enough. Like a peacock when he shows his feathers, right? I got all these pretty feathers now. So when I got these feathers, I've attained this status or whatever. So when you see me, I should be your dream come true. That means I expect you to fall in love with me, or me to be a solution to everything you want in a man, and not actually take time to get in tune with you. And so that was my error that I can take a blame for, because it wound up having me in my own head instead of in my own relationship. And so I was getting my needs met per se, but I had no interest in getting hers. I felt that if I just met mine, that it would trickle down and validate her. And that was the wrong approach, because it's a partnership. It's a partnership. I have to be in tune. Part of my purpose is to make sure your heart is covered. Part of my purpose is to make sure that you're spiritually growing. Part of my purpose is to make sure that I'm invested in your happiness, because a woman gives birth to whatever you put in her. We're seed carriers. You guys are the garden. So if I invest in you, if I plant in you goodness, if I plant in you beauty and tell you that I appreciate you, you're going to give birth to that to me tenfold. You're going to multiply. That's what women do. They multiply the seed that we put in them. I was too focused on getting my rocks off and getting my ego versus actually planting seeds of goodness in her, and then wound up driving me away. So I learned from my lesson in that, and I don't know, if I'm supposed to, call and tell it, but I definitely grew from that experience. So,
okay, good.
Well, in that vein, I can name a million things. When I said I let them, they were all good women, and I let them all go, that didn't mean that I didn't make any mistakes. So I've been a cheater. I've lacked emotional intelligence. I really wasn't even introduced to the concept of emotional intelligence till I was like 39, 40 years old. Right now, I'm really trying to train myself not to engage a woman I'm in a romantic relationship with when she tries to pull me into the emotional state that she's in. I have to be zen and stay true to myself and not let her, and not say anything bad about her, but I'm just saying I can't be pulled into whatever she has going on. I have to stay who I am, which is in Yatu, and the man in those situations. So if you want to talk about that, I've made tremendous mistakes. I've lost my way while in a relationship before and had to go find myself, and I couldn't refine myself, and I couldn't do that within inside of a relationship. But if I had to name the three biggest things, one, I was a cheater for a while. Two, the emotional intelligence. If it's not there, when the pressure gets applied, then that emotional feminine energy don't even come out of the man. I'm a Cancer male, so I might be the most emotional man on this ManCave podcast tonight. But it's not about how emotional you are; it's how you respond to those emotions, and that's what emotional intelligence is. So I own all of that. But I don't want those relationships back. Those women deserve to go be with the person that's for them. So if there's any mistake I made, is I didn't let a woman go soon enough. I held on to it too long, knowing good and well that somebody else was a better match. But I, in those moments, couldn't be man enough to end it, and she didn't want to end it. She was such a good woman to me that I felt like I had to let her end it on her terms when she was ready. But that was a mistake. I should have scooted her along, because the sooner she got away from me, the sooner she would get closer to the person that's for her.
So what caused you to stop the cheating?
no gaslighting. No
you
gaslighting.
got caught.
I'm just joking. Go ahead. I'm just joking.
Yeah.
And Yatu, is he not hearing me now?
Doesn't look like.
And Yatu.
Oh, was Cheryl talking to me?
Yeah.
What made me stop cheating?
Yes, what made you stop cheating? You see how he heard me?
I'm trying to just think about what my moment of truth was.
Cheating on my diet?
Oh,
you know what? I was dating a young lady, and she got frustrated with me, and she said, "And Yatu, when have you ever had a healthy relationship with a black woman?" And I was ready to just tell her about all these healthy relationships, but my wheels started turning on the inside, and I said, "Does healthy for me mean healthy for them?" And because they agreed to certain things and tolerated certain things for me, does that mean that it was healthy for them? And when I really analyzed what she said in that moment, I didn't like my truth. I hadn't had a healthy romantic relationship with a black woman, and that's why you hear me talk about healthy relationships. That's one of my key words. Yeah. And so ultimately it was unhealthy. So that's what brought me to the decision that that's not what I wanted to do anymore.
Okay, good. All right.
Doug, I got something for you.
Okay.
So what I learned is this. 3 words. Well, there's actually kind of 4. Passive, assertiveness, and aggressiveness. Right? So in being called to be a leader, I was a husband, right? A lot of times I kind of leaned more to the passive side. And then a lot of times when I was frustrated, I went to the aggressive side. And really, the truth is, passivity and aggressiveness is really the same thing, just with a different emotion. And so my wisdom and my learning in situations, I realized that what assertiveness is. And assertiveness is not aggressive and it's not passive. It's telling your truth, and it's and what I'm learning is how to articulate that, and how to articulate the assertiveness so it is not deemed as passive or not deemed as aggressive. And so I've gotten a lot of peace from that because I'm speaking my truth, and I'm speaking my truth in a way that is digestible to whoever I'm speaking to. So now that they understand me and that they see me, that we are on hopefully the same page. because being a man, and I'm also a cancer, and understanding my truth, and understanding in my healing what my own faults, right? What were my faults? What were my decisions that I made, and why did I make them in my marriage that ended up her walking out of the marriage, right? And that's a tough thing, but it's a beautiful thing when you learn those lessons and say, huh, you know what? I should have said something. I was being passive that moment. I will no longer be like that. And understanding why was I doing that? Well, because I wanted some sex with the wife. Let's be honest here. If we're in the man cave,
Right.
you know, I was being passive because I thought that's what she wanted, and I wanted sex. So I agree with her. But really deep down, I should have said no. And that actually bit me in the long run because of that being deemed and that spirit being noticed within her, of where, let's be honest, she lost respect in me as a man. And so when I started understanding that and going to the assertive side, it was already too late in her eyes.
Okay,
That's a
for the
big
new
issue.
guys who are coming in, we're talking about something that you may have learned in a relationship that ended. That, and this would be something in your youth, in your a time when you were not as mature. You know, what lesson did you learn that now the grown you that relationship would work now because you're more mature?
Nowhere in the scriptures, and please correct me if I'm wrong, but nowhere in the scriptures was I instructed to fall in love with a woman. I was told to love her as Christ loves the church. If we as men are initially designed to be logical, then once we get into her emotions with her and we stay there, she is going to lose respect for us. This does not mean that we are to be abusive or nasty or mean or cantankerous or any of that. But we are not called to love a woman like a woman. We are called by God, and I stand on this. We are called by God to love a woman like a man. The majority of the times that we lost our women is because when we were younger, we were beta men. We were emotional. We were over emotional. To that, we were not able to lead them in any direction because we were feeling more than they were, because the majority of us were raised by by our mothers. So we did not embrace masculinity until we became of age, in which we put away childish things, foolish speaking, thinking, and understanding. As I go through this man cave, doctor, I feel like I'm at a conundrum. I feel like I need to call you and have a private session with you that I may be misunderstanding at 51 years old, doctor, what it is to be a man.
Okay. Well, Dr. Can I interject?
Great insight.
Well, we can have a session. I am not attacking the male. Because I know that when you do self-reflection about things in the past, because there's a time in our lives that we recognize that we can be honest and say, I was wrong in this particular relationship. I did blah, blah, blah. And it may just be 5% that you contributed to the demise of the relationship. But owning that means that that's the 5% you're not going to take in another relationship. The struggle, however, is big when we can't admit at any point that this one relationship, when I was 20, when I was 30, when I was 40, whatever, this relationship, I really goofed up. It might just be from competing, like Inyatu said, because that's a big thing. That's to be able to hear yourself say, we all say we're not perfect, but to hear yourself say it, there's a level of feeling that comes there as well. That's all I'm saying. I'm not forcing you guys to, be feminine or anything. I'm saying, can we get some feeling?
I'm sure wants some dirt. You want some dirt? Okay. Anyway, no.
Yes.
No.
I
Okay.
want you to hear.
I'll say this. I'm not going to put a time on. I'm just going to be honest. Sometimes we as men can sometimes fail to appreciate normalcy, and sometimes we tend to be attracted to the more dysfunctional. And what I've learned is sometimes if you don't appreciate healthy, unhealthy becomes your default. And sometimes what I've learned is, I remember a time when I was dating a person, and it's, Dr. Cheryl, is very hard. And I'm only saying this, I don't want to offend the women, but I'm going to say this. The woman's core is very relevant to her present. How she was raised, did she have a father? Was she sexually abused? Her view on men and everything like that matters when you meet her. So sometimes it is as many women are out here in this world, they outnumber us men and all those kind of things they say. As many women as it is, it's hard to find a well-balanced woman. It's hard to find a well-balanced woman. Usually there's some sort of deficit somewhere that affects the relationship. So I remember at a time when I met a person, I was in a relationship with a person, and by all means in account, the person was very healthy. I mean, the person was all the things she was trying to get me to see. At some time I thought it was boring, corny, but she was very well rounded. I mean, she was into her family. She was always trying to invite me to something with her family. She didn't have a problem with me meeting her child. She had a good career. She had a spiritual element. All of those things. She was a stylish, attractive. But in my mind at that time, I wasn't embracing it, and I was just like, oh man, this is not the kind of, I can do more better quality than this. Your mind is, you're running around here and you're in an immature state of being. And sometimes that's those situations where you say you let it slip through your hands. And you may have had something decent and good that could have helped your life. But in that space and time that you were in, you didn't appreciate it. Now there's women out here, all are great women in general, but I'm just saying in some cases, it's very seldom do sometimes men run across women that are really, if you embrace them from a mature standpoint, that's really healthy for you.
So what does that look like then? What is a healthy woman?
Okay, she's okay, let's get this right. All right. Woman.
Go ahead, Charles.
Right. Okay.
It involves leggings.
She acknowledges that she's not perfect, right? But she's self-sufficient. She's not only, and I don't mean self-sufficient just financially, emotionally. She's not necessarily. She doesn't come to the relationship pulling on me for emotional fuel. She's not necessarily. Put it like this: if men talk to women enough on the phone or communicate, if you hear the word need a whole lot of times, you got to realize what you're dealing with. In that chain of conversation, it's going to be, well, I could have did this because I need this and I sure would need that. And I would like that. You're like, oh, this is becoming a needy exchange. Right. It's not open. It's not fluid. It's not it's self-sufficient. It is just, and after a while, sometimes this is how the competition sometimes between men and women ensue, because sometimes a person will come along, they'll see Ryan, they'll say, he's so conservative and nice and well-to-do, and they'll become envious of that. And instead of embracing him as a good guy, they begin to kind of hate, compete with him, don't celebrate his successes. Maybe something happens good at work, they won't even acknowledge it because they're envious. Instead of that's why I said it's important to have a balanced person that can kind of see you where you are, as opposed to looking at you as someone to compete against. But just embrace you and just say, you know what, this guy's good. I'm not going to try to find fault with him. I'm just going to roll with it.
All right, because we all have faults. I'll go with Charles. The thing that I would say, just simple for me, a healthy woman is this type of woman for me. She wants me in her life, but she don't need me in her life.
Correct. That's it.
You get what I'm saying?
That's it.
That is a healthy woman for me. She wants me there. She wants to communicate. She wants to be able to talk. She wants to be able to share. But a lot of times you have a lot of women, as us men, we come across, they need us to be there because there's a void that is missing.
Yeah.
A lot of times they haven't went and shored themselves up. They haven't went and had that mirror moment for themselves to check who they are. Because a lot of relationships, that's how it is. They need the man to be present. And what happens is if that man exit, that's where the heartbreak comes in. You're going to have emotions. You're going to feel something when somebody exits.
Yeah.
But when it gets to the place you are broken down, you go into a deep depression. It's not because of the man. There is a void that is missing there. There's an abandonment issue. There is an abuse issue. There is something that's within you that has nothing to do with that man that you need to correct. So for me, a healthy woman for me is a woman that wants me there but doesn't need me there.
Good stuff.
Good, Rob.
Good stuff.
Now I want you to answer the my question, not Charles' question.
Oh Lord. Go ahead, Robert.
I know, Rob always waiting. Was there a woman who came into your life that you allowed to let go? That in your mature state now, you know that if you had done this or if you had done that, it was a healthy relationship. It could have worked if you would have done anything different.
Well, for me, yes. One of the things that happened to me, I let ego, pride, status, and image mess me up with one good woman. That's just bottom line. Because when you have an ego, when you have that ego, all these fellas in here, every time they see me out on the town, they be like, "Man, Lord have mercy, where did you find her?" So I'm in that ego. I'm not even paying the woman. You a watch on my wrist. That woman, she really, she's that's what she was. She's just something that, and I let that get the best of me. I wasn't listening. Baby, you lucky to have me around because when we step out, when we step in the room, it's about me, not about us.
Yeah.
And I let my ego, my pride, all that get in the way, that image that I had on the town. And the next thing I know, I look up, she gone.
Wow.
And what started to happen was once she left, I'm like, I'm by myself.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's that kind of, it's not to the point I'm depressed or anything like that, but I'm like, this done happened to me 5 or 6 times.
Wow.
I got to grow up. It's got to be more. It can't all be about me.
Wow.
It has to be something about the woman. So for me, the next time as I'm in my relationships, I'm always going to be concerned about, let's have a conversation. I think that was Bruce that said that one time. Every 6 months, let's do a checkup, baby. What's going on? Are you good? Is there something that we need to discuss? Instead of it always being about, me, let's see what you got going on. Let's see where you at mentally. So I had that. Yeah, I would have been married about 30 years now.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah,
Right.
I would have been married about 30 years.
Wow.
That's good.
Hey, Doctor, can I kind of sum up what Charles and Robert said, and really just one specific thing that they both touched on that was pinpoint for me when Charles was talking was, a healed woman to me is one that is not looking for me to fulfill her happiness.
Ooh, yeah.
That is not my job. That is not her job to make me happy. That is my job. So I don't seek happiness. I seek joy. Happiness is a feeling, right?
Yeah.
You can wake
That's
up and
it.
be happy, and then the next day wake up and be mad.
That's
you don't
it.
even know why. But joy is a continuous thing in any situation, in any state.
Right.
So I'm looking for a woman that is joyful and has joy within herself.
Yes.
Because she can provide that happiness for her. The expectation, the knight in shining armor, is a fallacy. Our culture tells us this, and then she looks for me to be that, and I try to be that. And when I don't live up to that expectation, then therefore it's my fault, or you didn't live up to this expectation. A lot of times expectations that I didn't even know I was supposed to live up to, and vice versa. That's a vice versa thing.
Right.
So really, for me, if I can find someone that she has found happiness within herself, I feel like that is a healed person.
Okay, Ryan.
Can I ask them a question, Doctor?
If it's just Ryan left to answer, can we hold the question and get Ryan and come back to you?
Yes.
Go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah,
Ryan?
the question. Yeah, I got.
Oh, the question is, has there been a woman in your life that in your immaturity you let go, but now you look back and you know that there could have been things that you could have done to make this last forever, to be on your 30th wedding anniversary with that person?
Whew, I would say that I made a lot of mistakes. To be honest, I didn't really do a lot of dating, to be candid. I mean, I accepted the Lord at age 18, and it was just 100% into that.
Wow.
I pretty much kind of came from a culture where, in essence, there's not a lot of teaching on any of that anyways. So I think there's one relationship that I would be like, I definitely could have done that differently. It was actually my first girlfriend, and it went from 0 to 60, and it ended fairly tragically. And that is something that I would definitely want to do over. Would it have led to 30, 40 years in marriage? I don't know, because if I look at that guy probably would not have lasted in a situation that young. I know what I have now. I've been married for 15 years. What I have with my wife now is really special. I think in the back room we were talking, and one of the things that Pastor Garraway was talking about, he talks about the 5 stages of a man, and he said stage 1 is learning, labor, and then there's spiritual warfare or purpose. He says that's the 3rd phase. He says after that 3rd phase, right, understanding what your purpose is, then you are ready to be husband and father. What he was saying is that most of the times when we try to measure a man, it's really about husband or father. But there are 2 stages with regards to manhood. It has nothing to do with husband and father. So with regards to your question, when I look back on my past, I was nowhere ready because I hadn't learned the things that I needed to learn. I hadn't been proficient in really anything per se. And the purpose for my life was still, in essence, coming into view. So, so every time I would say prior to my wife, it was always kind of messy and unsure and those types of things, because I had a different dating narrative, if I wanted to put that, so.
That's good. That's good. Bruce, your question?
My question to the brothers, because we're talking about so many varying types of women. I'm going to ask a barbershop question, fellas. I got time tonight, man. I got time tonight. Have you guys encountered, hear me, doctor, have you guys encountered women, Robert, nowadays, whose lives, who don't need us because they can handle their own? They have their own houses, they have their own careers, so on and so forth. They have their own levels of education. However, their desire is for us to fit in to that open slot. You understand what I'm saying? To fit into that open slot. And have you met a woman who really has a desire to help us? All of us on this panel are men who are pursuing a purpose. The single men, We're pursuing a purpose. We have a vision that God is pushing and birthing through us. Have y'all met a woman who is positioning herself to help you? Or is the expectation for us to fit in that open slot in her appointment book for us to build our lives around her? That's a 2020 type of question. Dr. Holmes.
Are you asking me or the guys?
Yes.
No, I'm asking the brothers.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. Now, Bruce,
yes.
It is not common day thing. It's not a
not
common day thing
No,
at all.
that's what I'm saying. It's not common.
Yeah,
No.
it's not common.
Yeah, so brothers, I need us to kick this thing for real. I don't know what we are talking about tonight. Let's drop it like it's hot, gentlemen.
Okay, so Bruce, sometimes when you run into that woman that is elevated in a certain position in her life,
I think you asking
and I'm sorry,
great question. I think a lot of women use what they hear in the scripture to determine that they alone are the prize, and it's all about us, pursuing them and satisfying whatever their expectations are. But ultimately, a woman wants a man with a plan, and a man wants a woman who can add to that plan, right? And so, I said it last night. I say it every night. I got a three-pronged litmus test. Are we enhancing each other? Are we advancing each other while we're romancing each other? So that companionship part is there, and women love to focus on that. Where you gonna take me on a date? What you gonna buy me for Valentine's Day? How attentive you are to me. But ultimately, that's not enough to sustain a relationship. It's what you said, Bruce. Is she trying to make you fit in and whatever she got going on and whatever she want her friends to perceive about her relationship or her family to perceive about her relationship? Or is she really down for where you want to lead the two of you, and she's willing to really play her role, and whether that's being Scottie Pippen sometimes, Michael Jordan sometimes, or John Paxson sometimes, but really trying to help you walk in your purpose and accomplish all of your goals and be the best man that you can be. And that's rare, but it is definitely out here, and you definitely can align yourself to attract that, and I am blessed to have experienced it.
I was going to say, Dr. Cheryl, I think just to Bruce's point, I think sometimes, if we're honest, sometimes depending on how a woman is, number one, how she's positioned in her life financially, number one, her whole status. Number two, sometimes women, Bruce, like what Bruce mentioned, sometimes men are made to feel that way because sometimes the woman is actually she's looking for you. She has resentment, number one, towards the male species in some cases. And she's looking for you to I need you to do these tricks, so to speak, so that I can recognize you enough to bring you out of the position that I already have you in to embrace you. But see, the thing about that is if you're experiencing feeling like you're in a slot, slots only rotate. They don't evolve. So if someone has you in a slot, you're going to stay in a slot. They're going to reposition you to another slot, but you're not going to have that open autonomy of honor that you're looking for. But you're not going to get that. If you see that up front, that's what to be honest, it's also an indirect. It's like an indirect hit of not quite respecting you. That's what it is. It's kind of like saying, because all women have these men that they encounter that they will change their whole narrative for because he quote unquote came the way they expected in their list to show up. So they'll give you a whole different smile or all of those things. But the guy that she feels is trying to climb and work his way into her, she'll give him a hard time and put you in a slot. You understand what I'm saying? So yeah.
I would also want to add this to what Charles is saying. Ladies, one of the things I want you to understand is this. I know you done heard it before, but I'm going to prove it to you.
Come on,
Your degree, your position, your title means nothing to a man.
Right.
I'm going to tell you why. You down here with us everyday brothers. Like I said, I don't mind telling my bitch. I didn't know. You down here with this brother that's making $45,000 to $65,000 a year. You don't like me because of the financial situation that I'm in. You say that ain't no money. So what you do is you trying to get up here to the top 10% of men up here. You get up there, you can't get those men up there because you want to know why? Again, you tell that man up there, I have the bachelor's, I have this degree, I have this title. That man up there tells you, baby, I don't care nothing about that. What we want as men, first thing is respect. That's the very first. We want respect just off the top. Love, all that, put that to the side. We want to be respected. The second thing that we want you to be feminine. Too many of you women are masculine. And you have taken the ability. Well, I done had to go out here and do it on my own. I understand in certain situations, but a lot of times the reason why you went out here and done it on your own because you was mad at Willie Joe back here. It ain't had nothing to do with you was struggling. You went through a hard time. You had 4 and 5 kids and this, that, and another. You are just, I'm going to concentrate on my career. I'm going to concentrate on these goals and this, that, and that. And along the way, you became a man. You forgot to learn how to be feminine, or you lost your way. And that's just why you can't get the attention of the men that you want. Because a lot of times we tell you, because it's not about your degree. It's not about that. It's not about you actually, just like with Charles's them book. The reason why I went over here and married her, the cashier from Walmart, you know why I married her and I left you alone that was the vice president of marketing over here? It's because this woman over here at Walmart supported me.
Wow.
That's what she does. She uplifts me. She ain't worried about no status. She ain't worried, and she's willing to listen to me like my brother was saying about, can you add to me?
Yeah.
In other words, I'm giving her something and she's improving. She done went from the cashier up to a manager. She going up. If I come over here and talk to you, that's the VP, and you got all these titles and this, that, another. You talk to me as if I have no intelligence.
Wow.
But you wonder why you can't get the man at the seminar and you can't get the man at the gas station.
Wow.
Learn how to be feminine. Stop being so masculine.
Wow.
Doctor?
Yes, sir.
It's your show, Doc. Lead us. Come on.
I would like to toss something out.
That's hard. That's hard news there, Robert. That's hard.
No, I
totally
agree.
I mean, I'm just being honest.
Yeah,
but,
yeah.
Because it's the same thing for that man. Now, this is, and I think we talked about this earlier in the show, sometime earlier. They're pastors, they're women who are pastors or women who are leaders who cannot get a man. In fact, my dissertation is talking about that in terms of what does a woman lose when she becomes a leader? And how does that transition?
She loses balance.
Balance.
Yes. Balance. It is difficult. Let me tell you, I experienced watching. I remember some years back when I was engaged, the person I was engaged to, her pastor, she had a female pastor, and her husband was a nice, low-key guy, really cool, but the posture of the way she handled him in church, it just demeaned him. He was a nice guy, but she got up there in that pulpit and acted like he was a woman. And like she was a man. That's the way it came across. And even when the church was over, did you go do this? And she was just hollering duties and like he was a woman. And it was just like really demeaning to watch. But I was just like, wow. But and I think I'm not to have anything against women preachers, just saying that if you can't handle a certain level of responsibility in that light while still respecting your husband, maybe you need to adjust some things. Your husband deserves respect at all times, period. You know,
and that's one of the things that you find. I don't know if a lot of people can do it. You know, cheers to Joyce Myers, who's able to balance that. But it's really being able to take the reins and hand it over. You may be you may be managing 500 people, and this is something that I know that I have done. I drive into the driveway and I literally stay there for a few minutes, 5-10 minutes, and I become Cheryl. Because the
That's
people
good.
in my house,
That's good.
they don't want the whole all the other stuff. I would live, and sometimes they look outside and like, why are you staying there? I have to mentally get to the place of, okay, in here, I wash dishes, I'm ruling the world out there. But in this place, there's expectation for food, dishes, cleaning bathroom, and whatever. So when I come into the house, I have to take that off. But a lot of times, it's not the easiest thing because it's a mindset that you do 40, 60 hours a week.
Well, Dr. Cheryl, kudos to you, because honestly, there's nothing like a woman who can but won't.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Nothing like a woman that can. Yes. She knows she could run the whole thing, but she won't because she's allowing you to. And she's not trying to interfere with your space as a man. You understand what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, doctor, what gave you that mindset? Because doctor, I remember when you were the worship leader in a particular church, and you were talking about being who you are now.
Yes.
And from back then up until now, I haven't seen anything change about your personality, your ego, or anything like that. So you tell us, I have not seen all the women in this country who have your level of degrees and experience who can sit in a cave and talk to 10 men.
Wow.
You understand? That's something that's very unique. So you tell us what that mindset needs to be in a woman where she can have that balance.
I saw a woman last night tell 9 men what men need.
Yep, I sure saw that. Yep.
Yeah. Oh wow.
It's something, because, and that's one of the things. Even when I'm talking to you, I'm talking to some women. We don't have to fight. I mean, and that's the thing that's in my mind. And maybe because the only woman I grew up with is my mom. But we don't have to fight.
Yeah.
I don't have to be smart. I don't have to be smarter than you. It doesn't have to be a competition. And I don't know. I think I have an easier way in dealing with men because I understand. And for me personally, God is right. I really believe in patriarchal leadership. I really believe that the man would lead. And little things like if you look at my notes, if I have a couple, I always put the man's name first.
Good.
Because it's not something that comes easily or just because you want it. You really have to work on making sure that that's the mindset. And whenever I have given honor to men, whether in Africa or any place, it has opened up so many doors. So I ain't stupid. I know what word is. Make sure you honor the man, and he opens the door.
That's it.
If I go in and I'm trying to fight, first of all, any woman who does that is a fool because he's stronger. He'll knock me out.
So I'm curious about some of the feedback that you've been getting from some of the women. I see that you're gonna have the woman answers.
She said the she
shed. She burned down my she shed. My she shed caught on fire. So I'm kind of curious as to what some of the feedback has been, because you just said something that is so powerful that really is at the crux of understanding men, period. All across the board, no matter how great a man is and no matter how broken a man is, the principle that you just described will move any one of those men to be even greater.
Yeah.
What you just described, and see, all the men said, amen. Look at all the brothers. They all agreeing with me.
Yeah, I mean, it's the truth.
What you just said will move any man as a principle.
Yeah.
The perspective that you just spoke of is the answer for almost every single night for the past 30 nights that you've been having this, however many nights.
Correct.
And all of the questions that you've been asking and all of the different perspectives that you've been presenting, what you just said is the
sum total
of it, the sum total of everything.
Yeah.
Can I say something?
Okay, we can agree
Mm-hmm.
that some men may not be up to par in terms of what they should be. We can agree that some of us, probably most of us that are still here, are broken still in some places or in some area. We can agree that
Mm-hmm.
we're not the total sum yet of who we are going to be, because life experiences continues to shape us and make us into the men that we are. But at the same point in time, a woman that understands that, you just said something that is a gem,
A
a
gem.
tool,
Mm-hmm.
that if you can get other women to understand that, that's all about who you are as a woman. One of the brothers said, how did you come to that mindset? How did you get to that? Because you have not changed over the years, and I've known you since the bookstore, New Life, and through Nyack, when you were there at Nyack College for a while, as well as one of the administrators. So and yes, you've been the same for years. You have not changed. So how does a woman acquire that kind of insight and knowledge, and even the stability that a woman needs? Because there has to be, there's always a woman that's going to calm the savage beast in every man.
Mm-hmm.
But not every woman can handle the beast in every man.
Yeah.
There's always a woman that, no matter how angry a man gets, can calm him down.
Yes, sir.
There's always a woman that can handle the indiscretions of us losing our mind to whatever capacity or degree. A woman can, and the right words spoken, can bring us back.
Correct.
Yeah.
You understand?
I want to say something really
You
quick,
just
if
said
I may.
a mouthful.
All right, Spencer.
I'll say something really quick, if I may. I know for a fact, but I'm just going to put it plainly. Men don't want an independent woman.
Come
on, bro. Come on, man. Teach. Boy, you stirred up in here, man. Let me mute my mic and shout for a minute.
What we want is a secure woman.
Ooh.
There's a difference.
We want a secure woman.
Mm-hmm.
And the principles that you just touched on, Dr. Holmes, is exactly consistent with the secure woman.
Secure woman. That's it.
Hold on.
You have status,
Dr.
you have
Holmes.
title, you have accolades, but you have not defined yourself through your status.
Wow.
You have always remained in the conviction of your purpose.
Yeah.
Which is a female, which is a feminine energy, which is a feminine. And that is aligned with your purpose. That's the way God made it. Not only that, but you found the beauty in it. Because if you find something that's beautiful, it'll be consistent and attractive to you.
Teach, brother.
So therefore, you find your own attractiveness in being feminine.
Yeah.
There are so many times where a woman being feminine is not perceived to be attractive.
Yeah.
So
it's not attractive. Yeah.
So because it's not validated, it's not edified, it's not promoted. Independence is promoted, but not security.
I just been. Mm-hmm.
You have found a way to find beauty in your security of being a true woman and embodying that feminine energy.
Yes.
And that's what makes men like us attractive. So
hey, Dr. Cheryl. Dr. Cheryl, what Spencer said is dead on. And here's the thing: in the sports world, particularly football, there's something called on offense an audible. That's when there's a pre-planned play already set up, and I look down there and say, Bruce, let's do B play, and we switch up. Cheryl has mastered being flexible in her relationship to be able to audible, and she knows how to adjust to complement. But at the same time, half the battle is not looking at your person like an opponent.
Yes.
If you don't look at your person like an opponent, you can honor them in a whole different light.
Man, listen.
Yeah.
If I'm not competing with you,
I hang around my thing once, and I thank God. I don't know how long I've been doing this. I hang around men so I can hear. And once you guys are talking, I'm and that's what I'm hoping on Friday, the women who are coming, that this is not a bashing time, because this is one of the reasons why I do a lot of things. I do more men's conference than women's conference. I do more training with men. My book is called His Heart, Her Voice, 900 Men. because I think when we come in, and sometimes I even look at some of the people who are doing the things that we're doing. But you feel the competition. You feel like I need to make sure that I'm smart. I don't care. And every night I have all my paper and all of this, because the stuff that you guys give me is what's going to help me in my practice. Because when the men come into my practice, they think they're going to come in and be male bashing because it's a female. But when they come in, there's a fearness, because now I'm understanding the psyche of a man.
Right.
I quote you guys. I write stuff down, because I can't speak for a man unless I speak to a man.
Wow.
So, and I don't.
That's
I
good.
don't have to,
a lot of times, ladies ask that question.
Thank you, Dr.
Or they make that statement. You know what I'm saying? They ask that question all the time.
Sam was the best sermon.
That's it. You know what I'm saying? I tell women all the time, there's nothing wrong with being an independent woman. You forget that you're a woman. It's nothing wrong with you being smart. That's not. I'm a smart woman, so now no. You still a woman. It doesn't change. That's smart. That's all. That's all it is. So what happens to a lot? You are in competition with me. I'm not in competition with you. You're not Mike Tyson. I'm finna be Roy Jones. We shouldn't be in no competition. I'm intelligent. You intelligent. We exchange enemy. In other words, we always see it. I pour into you. You pour into me.
Yeah.
That's all it is. We're not in a competition. Well, I got to show. I got to show you that I'm smarter than you. I got to show you that I can handle this. Yes, I need to see you handling the crisis. But again, I am masculine. There are going to be times I need your feminine energy to calm me down. If you give me masculine energy, I'm finna get 10 times hyper, because you're not calming me down. You causing me to, you steady rising me up. And to be honest with you, ladies, we said we masculine on man. You really not that masculine. What really gets on my nerves when you trying to be masculine, it's really irritating to me, because baby, really, you can't feel my shoes. You don't have the same shoulders that I have. You wasn't built to carry the weight that I'm supposed to carry. So that's why you struggling. That's why you having the problems and the issues that you're having, because you're trying to carry the same weight that God gave me, the body, the mental, the spiritual, to carry. You can't carry my weight. So that's why you keep having the problems that you have.
Wow.
Because you're trying to be
man
something.
gonna let another man come up in his house and run his house.
That's it.
So, Dr. Holmes,
good stuff, Julie. Yeah.
Right.
So I wanted to say, because I'm getting sleepy. I don't know about my brothers, but I wanted to say,
okay.
The last thing I wanted to say to you, Doctor, is that in the melody of life, you are Sade.
Oh.
Hey. Yeah. All right. All of Sade's music, she lifts up a man.
Yeah, and the thing about this is that it does not take anything from me. It does not. I have learned, and I'm hoping some women hear that. The doors that has been opened for me. I mean, there's few places in the world that I have not gone and all that. I have understood how to honor the man. And when I do that, it opens the door. It really opens the door. They give me everything I want and more. And my husband says when he wants to talk to Dr. Cheryl, he says, can I speak to Dr. Cheryl? Other than that, I'm a girly girl. I don't know nothing. I don't know nothing. I am silly, and because that's what I need to be at home.
Yeah.
But let's get final words from you guys. Let's get final words. Go ahead, Spencer. I hear you.
All right, it's my final words.
No. Okay, hold on a second. Let me set you up for final words.
Okay.
Let me just take everybody else out, and let's have a Spencer moment. And all of you kind of think about your final words. And final words. All right, the floor is yours, Spencer.
Wonderful, wonderful. So here's my final words. For both male and female, learn and put effort into being each other's wine instead of their water. And what that simply means is be something that each other wants and not always what they need. And here's the problem. See, we need to get to a place where we don't need each other, because once we get to that place, then we start to define ourselves through you. And we shouldn't find our identity through a person. We find our identity through God. I need you to be a resource, not the source. God is my source. If I ever try to put you in a box or in a space where God's supposed to fill, I will always be unfulfilled, and so will you. I don't need you to be my heir. I need you to be something that I desire, something I look forward to. And I want to be that for you. So if we need to get to a place where we can have true happiness and compatibility and just straight up fun and positive vibes in our relationship, I'm striving to be your wine. I want you to look forward to me when you think about work, when you're about to get off of work. Man, I'm about to come home and see my man. Man, when I get off of work, I'm about to come home and see my woman. She's going to bring me peace. She's going to bring me joy. She's going to make me feel good. I don't want to think about problems that's waiting for me when I get home. That's called being wine versus water. That's all I would say.
I love it. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr.
Until the next time around.
Absolutely.
We'll do that. Blessings to you. Great. Let's see. Final words, Mr. Suarez.
So I mean, there was a lot of insightful things that were said. I think what it comes down to concretely, the challenge that we face is what I started talking about with is our inner being. And I would say that the solution for myself and actually for both parts of for both partners in the relationship is that you have to have the cultivation of your inner being, or else no matter what insight you have psychologically, it won't matter, because people get all sorts of insight psychologically and then nothing changes. And I'll tell you this anecdote really quickly to show how deep these things are. When I was about at least 20 years ago, I was having a fight with my girlfriend, a verbal altercation, and we were going back and forth. And at one point she told me to shut up. And for some reason that flipped something in me. And I call it Vietnam vet. Like I started to black out, and I started to scream at the top of my lungs, "Don't ever effing tell me to shut up." Right? As I started to say that, from in the spirit, this postcard dropped in front of my face, right? And just like a real postcard, but this is, again, in my imagination, it started floating down. Now, I knew that was from God because I wasn't thinking about that at all. Again, I was about to curse her out. As that postcard floated down in front of me, I looked down and I saw myself as a 5-year-old. And it was in a train station over in Queens Boulevard and Slattery Plaza. And it was little 5-year-old me, and I was with my mom and my aunt, and I was talking a lot. And my aunt turned to me and was like, "Shut up." And I remember I was so infuriated that I built that. It was actually like a trauma. I built it into my body. I remember like balling up my fist. My point about that is, if we, and that's not the only time that has happened, if we understand how deeply these things get rooted in us, then we will begin to understand the statement, which is something like, the psychological must be addressed by the spiritual.
That's good. That's really good. Our philosopher. Thank you so much, Michael.
Thank you.
We're going to have some great times together. All right. Let's see who else we have here. CJ, the man with the beard. Give us some final words.
All right. My final words. Perspective. All right. Perspective. When people say happy birthday, I actually like to tell them Happy New Year. Why? Because it's literally their new year. All right. Your perspective is valued. But also, with that, know your role. And that's for everybody. Right? Dr. Cheryl's a prime example of knowing her role. Her role at work is leader. Her role in worship is leader. Her role at home is mother, wife. Know your role, stick to it, and know that that is a compliment to the team that you are on in the relationship. All right, perspective. A lot of times we end up being in a relationship with someone that is opposite of us, and that is the beautiful thing. because their perspective is different than yours. But when you are on the same team, those perspectives give you a holistic viewpoint at a problem. And then therefore you come together and make that decision. And the last and final thing is this. A lot of times we look at us single ones, look at us and say, oh, I'm running out of time. I want to find somebody. And this is the truth. Perspective, though. You are running out of time. You're running out of time until you meet them. So in between those dots, make sure that you are healing yourself best as possible, that you are finding happiness within yourself, and that you're finding joy in God. Only God can give you joy. And if only God can give you joy, no man can take that from you because he never gave that to you. Only God did.
I love that. I love that. We'll see, George. You have added, those nice spices to the conversation. And so stay in touch. We have a whole lot more going on, and we would love for you to be a part. Okay, let's see. We have the man with a smile. Give us your final words, sir.
My final words is tune in to Man Cave Season 4, right? Bottom line is we need to keep having these conversations. We need to keep listening to each other without being defensive and hear where each other's coming from. Men are from Mars, women are from Venus. Y'all talking Venetian, we talking Martian, and we need some translation. And these types of conversations, this type of podcast, what's on your heart and spirit, Dr. Cheryl, to help people come together, what's on my spirit to help men and women come together and unify, is projected through these conversations, and it's tapped into through these conversations. So I love the energy tonight. I love the perspective from all the gentlemen. I got some quotes, you know what I mean? I have some bullet points. I have some really powerful statements that I was able to pull from this conversation. And looking in the comments, a lot of the women were able to pull some powerful things, not only from the men, but from you, Dr. Cheryl. So I just want to encourage people to keep communicating, keep the lines of communication open, keep tuning in to podcasts like this, and keep being a part of the conversation and engaging so we can heal each other and begin to understand each other. And I just really want to thank you for having me. And I want to thank everybody that tuned in tonight and every other night to the Man Cave. This has really been a powerful experience, and it is the makings of a powerful movement that is going to create healthy relationships between Black men and Black women.
I love it. I love it. Love it. We'll stay connected.
Absolutely.
There's some other things we want to do, so definitely blessings to you. All right. Pastor Julian, your final words, sir.
My final words, these are not my final words, but don't waste time majoring in the minors. I know that sounds kind of cliche-ish, but can you love a man through the difficult part? And that's the part I know sometimes we hear the technical aspect for better or for worse. But can you hold on through the worst, through sickness and health? Can you hold on through the sickness for richer or for poorer? Can you hold on through the poor parts? Because when you can love a man through those areas, you don't know what God has for him. I think it's the woman's responsibility, and it should be something that she wants to do, to also tap into the Heavenly Father, to hear what he's saying about the man that God has blessed her to see or to be with, or whatever the relationship is, and through it all, stay my friend. Can you be my friend? Can you be a friend? Because sometimes friends get the pass and they get the grace that even a man won't get, or your man won't get, or even from a man's perspective, sometimes we give friends a grace that we don't give a spouse or one that we're intimate with. And really the one that we're intimate with should get all of the graces that we allow our friends. So become friends, be friends, be friends first. Be friends first. You know, worship God first as well, because we really can't have this conversation without, as Christians, including our Heavenly Father. A threefold cord is not easily broken. It's not easily broken. So stay close, stay connected, stay honest as you can, stay truthful as you can to yourself, and as truthful as you can to that special other one. All right. So those are the things that I would say to remember.
Good. Ladies, he's also single and a really great musician. So if you hit me up, I'll hook you up.
Oh, Lord.
Okay, we left the dynamic duo for last. Reverend Dr. Charles Dixon, your final words on this episode.
All right, I would say one of the most detrimental issues in love today is the war of matching energy. Matching is a sign of hurt and resentment. So let's blend, not match. Because when you're hurt, you can't help anyone. You can't hear anyone, meaning your partner. You certainly can't heal yourself. But you can begin to hate if you're not careful. So let's do the work and see the reward. Thanks for having me, Dr. Sher.
I mean, you're just so smart and intelligent. I'm going to write that down. Now, please make sure you give him the credit when you put all of those H's in there.
Yeah.
The power of alliteration.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. You know, you're my buddy, my pal. I love what God is doing in and through you. So continue. All right.
Keep me in prayer, Dr. Cheryl.
Will do. The man who caused most of the problems and the trouble, not the problems, but you know, he stirred up the pot. He doesn't like when it's not stirred and not hot. Final words from you, that man, Alpha Man.
You know, I am my thing is honor. I am big. You know, just like Miles Monroe, his entire message was about wisdom. Even though he preached 1,000 sermons, it was all about wisdom. My thing is honor. So I want to first give honor to your husband for loaning you to us for an entire month. And you already know how I feel about you, doctor, and your posture. I've tried to share that in the closing last night and some tonight. I want to say to all of my brothers, I grew 5 inches taller as a result of spending this time with you guys in the cave. To the bishops and the pastors from Trinidad, salute. I hope we continue on in this dialogue, and I hope to build some relationships with you once this live is ended. As I met Charles Dixon through the Man Cave some years ago, I take this time to honor the fact that I just met some of you guys, and I hope to see you live and in person, so God can continue to do what he is doing through us all. So I appreciate the time. I've been blessed by it. Doctor, you know how I feel about you. I love you. Shout out to you and all of your humility and what you do. Shout out to your husband, Pastor Abner. Spencer, my daughter is still single. I'll be reaching out to you soon. And on that note, until Man Cave 4.
Until Man Cave 4. Blessings to you. Well, tonight is the final night for this season, and this has been such a great time. My apologies for those who were on the Zoom and we didn't get all of you in, but we'll make up for that. Ladies, the whole idea of this is not just to entertain. It's so that we can learn, we can be better. If you have a man in your life, whether it's a son, a father, a male boss, the most dangerous thing that you can do is to try to treat him like a woman or a child. Just recently, just this week, I wrote down, I was listening to a woman talk to me in one of our sessions, and I wrote everything down. And all I did is read it back to her. And then I heard the silence because she said, I get the point. And sometimes it's only when it's pointed out to us that we realize that we need to make changes. You can listen to this and have every objection and have a posture of fighting and saying, so what about us? Or you can listen to this with a posture of learning, and we walk away better. This is not a fight. Our passion and the wisdom of God, he made us the weaker vessel. And it does not mean that we can't be independent and we can't be strong. But why be all of that when you have a strong man in your life? And you might say, he's not strong. He doesn't need to be if you're trying to do everything. If there's a man in your life that you're not honoring and respecting, and there's contempt or hatred in your heart, and you know that becomes evidence by the way you speak to him. The thoughts, when he's talking, he may say, he may use a word that, he may say scrimp instead of shrimp. And that becomes something that you tell all your girlfriends and whatever else. What does that do to the man, though? And why should he stay? Why should the man that's in your life stay with you? Because of obligation? Because of the church? Because of children? Nah, men are not staying because of that anymore. You heard that. And I'm not telling you, I'm not condoning anything wrong or side chick or anything like that. I'm just saying they're not staying. Nobody is staying for our foolishness. The tantrums that we once would use to get a man and keep a man and all of that stuff, it's not working. Another thing that Bruce said over the past month, that initially it really bothered me, because he says that a man should not just be catering to his wife. And I think I get it. I think if they both cater to each other, it makes for a better relationship. So we can look at the glass half full and decide to fight, or we can reframe and look at it half empty. If you don't have a man in your life, we all need to sit down and say, why? Why? It has been my pleasure to do this ManCave Conversations every night. And I pray that it has been a blessing to you, to all the men, all 20, 30, 40 of them that came through. I really, really honor and appreciate you. Until next season, we're out. Bye-bye.
If I had $1 for every time they say God wasn't gonna come through, I'd be a millionaire.